Hi, this is Ray at Whitney Auto in Fredericksburg, Virginia. This is a 2004 Mazda RX8 that we picked up as a project. We're going to be doing a series of videos on it, so if there's anything in particular you're interested in, feel free to send us on a message and subscribe to the channel so that you can get it if and when we do put these things up. We picked the car up being told that it needed an engine.
I always get stuck doing this crap.
All I know right now is that it doesn't start. So I'm going to have an attempt here at it to see if I can get the car started in this first video where I'm going to attempt to deflood an RX8. Now the first thing you gotta do is get in the car and realize that it's not starting, so let's see what it sounds like. Well, it cranks. You may also hear another noise in the background. That's the air pump. So let's get out and we'll go step by step. First things first, we gotta get rid of this sticker. Alright, so inside the car we noticed a couple things. There was a whirling, humming fan, or some people call it a spaceship noise or jet engine noise coming. What that was the air pump. The air pump turns on after the car's been sitting cold for several hours, and all it does is it injects regular air into your exhaust manifold to aid in the heating of the catalytic converter so it can do its job more efficiently and more quickly. Now, the good thing about that is that you have lower emissions. The bad thing about that is that when your car is flooded and you're dumping more gas into your exhaust as you clear out the combustion chamber, it's more likely that it's going to overheat and cause catalytic converter damage. So all we're going to do right now to prevent that from turning on while we're deflooding the engine is disconnect it. Now there's two connectors on it. There's one here that you can wiggle loose, like that. There's also one here. You're going to push the tab with your finger and pull that one off. Well, you only have to do one or the other, but I did both just because, so you can see how it's going. Now, in order to get this thing cranked over and deflooded, we need to have the car cranking over well. As we noticed when we were in the car, it was cranking slowly. Really, the faster, the better. Anybody who's had an older vehicle and knows about flooding will tell you that if you jump it from two cars or multiple jumper boxes or whatever, you may crank over the engine faster. Either way, we need a fully charged battery. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a decent set of chargers on this thing. If you're stuck in a parking lot or your driveway, another vehicle idling with jumper cables on it to fully charge the battery is fully suffice. Before we go ahead and hook up our charger to charge the battery so we can deflood this car, we need to take a look at the overall condition of the battery. Now, this one actually looks like it's fairly new. However, you can see there's some rust here on the ends of the cables. Also, a common point of failure is the positive battery cable end here. So it's, as you can see, it's loose already. You can try to tighten it up with some pliers. Make sure this nut here is tight. There's a million old school hacks to get these things done, but realistically this end here is only a few bucks at your parts store. Sometimes it's easier just to replace it. Now that we've gone ahead and tightened up this cable so it's good and tight on the battery, we can go ahead and put on our charger cables. Now the next part of the deflood process will have us pull open our fuse box and go crazy and pull out all the fuses. Actually, we're not going to pull out any. Some of these processes, the people will tell you to pull out the fuel pump relay, the circuit fuse, all types of things. There is no need to remove a fuse during this process or a relay. All fuel is canceled and fuel injection is canceled by depressing your accelerated pedal to the floor.
Now the next step in the process involves cranking over the engine. Now as I spoke about under the hood, we're not going to be pulling out any fuses to prevent more gas from getting into the engine. What we're going to do is depress the accelerator pedal all the way to the floor. The accelerator pedal, if you didn't already know it, is your gas pedal. What that's going to do is it's going to allow the throttle body to open up somewhat, and it will electronically prevent the injection of fuel into the combustion chamber. So as we do that, because this is a manual car, I will be also depressing the clutch pedal, and I'm going to crank it for 10 seconds. After those 10 seconds pass, I'm going to turn the key off and then wait an additional 60 seconds at the very least. That will keep our starter from overheating and keep us from draining our battery any further than it already is. So let's do that, cranking for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to talk while we wait for the next crank period. 10. Now, as you can hear when I crank, there's a displacement of air. You can hear the pressure. This car wants to start. I am going to continue to do this process for several times, though. If you just get a continuous swirling or rotating sound and you're not really getting that push of air, you need to continue this process, and it may take you longer. You may possibly reach a point where this process won't work and you will have to remove your spark plugs in order to do it fully. I'll talk about that more once we get to that point, but right now we're just going to continue this process. So after about 60 seconds now, I will crank again. Now, how many times you do this process of cranking and then waiting, cranking and then waiting, depends completely on what kind of results you're getting from the car. The more you do it, the faster the car is going to start. This is the patient part of the defload process. What's happening when you're cranking it is it's cutting off the gas and it's shooting it out the exhaust. You need to get as much of it out as you can so that the car can rebuild compression and get spark back, so you're cleaning out the spark plugs at the same time. So you want to do it realistically somewhere between 6 and 10 times at the very least. Now after we do that, what we'll do is we'll attempt to start the car with our foot on the floor and then take our foot slowly off the pedal and see if it will catch up as fuel injection begins and if the car starts. So now I've repeated the process about 6 times of cranking and then waiting, cranking and then waiting. So what I'm going to do this time, as I spoke about, is I'm going to start out with my foot on the accelerator pedal all the way to the floor. I'm going to begin to crank. As I'm cranking, I'm going to slowly let up on the pedal. The engine may sputter. You may get a lot or a little or no smoke out of the tailpipe, depending on how much fuel was in it. As it sputters, I may depress and feather my gas pedal back on and off to keep the car running. I'm going to try not to overrun the starter, meaning I'm still holding it cranking while the vehicle is running. However, I don't want to cut it off too soon, or the engine may stall out and I'll have to start the process all over again. Now this RX-8 is running. Now I'm keeping my foot on the accelerator pedal. My check engine light is flashing. It may illuminate at some time, and I may have an air pump code from disconnecting the air pump. I'm trying to hold it as low as I possibly can to keep the car running, but I am raising the idle somewhat, and I will slowly back off of it.
So this deflood process worked for me on this vehicle. As I spoke about when I was getting it started, you may have to do it more times than I did. I believe I did it 6 times. I didn't show them all in the video. If you have to do it more times than that, don't be surprised. If it's not working for you after about 10 times, you may have to remove your spark plugs. After you remove your spark plugs, you would want to clean them, disconnect your eccentric shaft position sensor, and crank over the engine several times with no spark plugs in it. Now you want to make sure you disconnect the eccentric shaft position sensor to cancel out your spark before you do that. These are all things I'll address in further videos because honestly this engine will run, but it runs like crap. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and you can get updates and follow along as we get this thing on the road and running right and possibly a lot faster than it already is. Thanks for watching.